So yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so we are in the police station and we are in the media station, headquarters of Ferguson. We're here with the homie, the friend, Van Jones.
Right, here we are.
We have a few questions. Malik, take over. Do your thing.
I got a couple questions. First off, what do you think about how the youth are handling this out here in Ferguson?
I think the young people have been doing an extraordinary job. First of all, there's a lot of strategy that they're getting zero credit for. They act like the only thing that's going on is the marches. They're not talking about the meetings. They're not talking about the strategy. They're talking about the reaction, not the pro-action, and people trying to think about the next steps and what they want. So I think a lot of the organizations I've been hearing, Organization for Black Struggle as an organization, I've been hearing more. I believe as an organization. Also, even national groups like Million Hoodies, Hip Hop Caucus. I've been hearing Color of Change. A lot of groups that don't get that national recognition, but they have respect here. And
right.
I think people keep saying, well, why was there this disturbance? Why was there that disturbance? It would have been a lot more disturbances if people hadn't been cool, calm, collected, and intelligent about what they were trying to achieve here.
Another question. How do you feel like? I kind of agree and I kind of disagree a little bit. A lot of those organizations were on the ground, and some of these young brothers out here that we think are reactionary have really changed the pace as far as movement. What I mean by that is the reason why Color Change is here, the reason why Million Hoodies is here is because these young folks stand up. So maybe it's not a question. Well, I guess it is a question. How do we get these young folks out here politically activated? Because clearly they're fired up.
Absolutely. Well, look, I mean, nobody's taking anything away from the folks who grew up here, born here, their parents were here, their grandparents are here. They didn't get involved because they expected to be on television or anything else. They saw one of their own shot down. And not only shot down unarmed, not only shot down unarmed, but shot down unarmed and left in the street for 3, 4, 5 hours, which they don't even do with dogs. They don't even do that with cats. Animals don't lay in the street that long in America. So when you see something like that, you have to have a reaction, you have to have a response. And I think people should be proud that young people are not sitting here letting these type of things go down. At the same time, we always have to have our national organizations. We also have to have, our bloggers. We have to have our Black Twitter. We have to have our whole sophisticated response apparatus. I'm saying nobody has really gotten the credit that they deserve. It's just been on loop repeat, certain incidents or whatever. So that's the kind of stuff I'm saying. Fine, let that have its moment, but also make sure that people understand our community has always been sophisticated, always complicated, always different tactics, different strategies, different tendencies, but it always moves the issue forward. And so, anyway, but look, I think we should be very proud of the young folk, and also we should be very ashamed that here we are in 2014, and not just in Ferguson, but 3 or 4 other cities.
Yes,
you
sir.
have African-American unarmed young men choked to death, shot to death, beat to death. So you have this police violence, and then we have the street violence, and nobody's really trying to make anything move forward in a positive.
Okay, so, one last question. Yeah. Moving forward, since you mentioned moving forward.
Hey, can we just hold on one second?
Yeah.
Not seeing it.
Gotcha.
This man. Oh, I'm good. I'm in an interview. Can we talk a little bit later? Okay, thanks, bye.
Last question. Moving forward, what do you see for the youth of Ferguson? Last night they didn't pepper spray them, but it was very aggressive. Moving forward, how do they? I seen someone mention on one of the other shows that, like when something happens, when the school is shot up, they bring people in for them.
Right.
Like I think that trauma. There we go.
See, the thing about it is, how did it become a high standard that they didn't pepper spray people?
Right.
And now that's a high standard that they didn't smoke bomb people and flash bang people and rubber bullet people. They're not supposed to be doing that anyway.
There you go.
So that's not some positive, great achievement. That's bare minimum.
Right.
Anytime you have a situation like this, you have a traumatized population. You have people who have lived here for ever and ever. People act like Ferguson always had tanks rolling down the street, and Ferguson always had bodies laying in the street. And Ferguson always, no, this is just a normal community with the same issues everybody else has. They just took it too far, and people had to respond. But then when the response to people's reaction is you're leveling guns at people. Now look, the first thing you learn in a gun class, in the first minute, in the first hour of the first day, You don't point a gun at somebody unless you plan to shoot. You point up or you keep it holstered. You can't survive the first minute of the first hour of the first day of a gun class pointing the guns at people. You'd be thrown out the first minute.
Yes, sir.
These people are out here with tanks and everything else in the world doing stuff that even a third grader learning in a Cub Scout class how to handle a firearm doesn't do.
Yes, sir.
So you can't have high-tech weaponry with people who obviously have no training leveling guns at people, not for 1 minute, not for 1 hour, but for 9-10 days, and expect people not to have traumatic reactions. And
Right.
people are going to need counseling, they're going to need therapy, they're going to need help, they're going to need to talk it out. Because why? If not, where's it going to go?
Yes, sir.
It's going to go right back against somebody's girlfriend, right back against somebody's child.
Right.
Because that's the cycle of violence.
Yes, sir.
And that's the cycle of threat. And so, it's a lot that has to be done here. I'm glad that Eric Holder is here, but he himself needs to stand up against the federal government that he works for,
Yes, sir.
dumping all this military hardware on these little small towns that don't need it. You cannot have these little small towns that don't have any actual issues, maybe some jaywalking, maybe somebody standing on the street corner with too loud music. Why do they need high-tech weaponry from Afghanistan and Iraq and all these little towns? So I call on Attorney General Holder to point out that U.S. law enforcement is not fighting ISIS. U.S. law enforcement is not fighting Saddam Hussein. U.S. law enforcement should be trying to work with communities to get to a better outcome, and they don't need tanks and all this other type of stuff for that.
Well, I'd like to thank you. THC Radio likes to thank you, and Van Jones is a real dude.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man.